chair pro tem or wait 5 minutes and just let one of them, show up. So I'll leave it up to you guys.
Let's give them 5 minutes.
I agree.
Okay. That sounds good.
Well, if not, then Mr. Preston, you going to do it?
I'll accept the deference.
I bet you would.
You bet I would.
Well, Commissioner Preston, shall we commence with the festivities, or do we want to wait a couple more minutes?
Well, the time is now 6:05. Let's proceed. And should the chair or vice chair come in, I'll yield back. Let's proceed at the June 9th, 2020 Planning Commission. Staff, is there any, let's proceed with the roll call.
All right. Commissioner Dreer?
Here.
Commissioner Ferguson? Commissioner Preston?
Here.
Commissioner Weir?
Here.
Commissioner Wiley?
Here.
Commissioner McLean? and Chairman Ashbaugh. All right, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the printed agenda?
No, there are no changes tonight.
All right. Then let us proceed with case number 20-100-05, the rezoning at 2415 South Artie Mize Road, JW Properties, LLC. Staff report.
Yeah, so JWP Properties request to rezone this property at 2415 South Artie Mize Road from C2 to R6. The site is shown on the map. I can't see all of it, but it's south of 23rd Street, a couple of blocks, and also on the east side of Artie Mize Road. This is the zoning for the area. For the most part, this land to the north and the east is zoned commercial, while the land to the south, to the north and west is zoned commercial, with lands to the south and east are zoned single-family residential. The chunk of R30 property to the north is city-owned and contains the customer service center and the emergency dispatch center. You're familiar with this area, I'm sure. The future land use map looks similar to the rezoning map, with the residential uses to the south and east. Oh. Okay. Okay, with the future land use map looks similar to the rezoning map, with residential uses to the south and east, and commercial uses to the west, but public and office uses to the north. This is the aerial photograph of the site, which is in the red circle. In the photo, the other part of the property contains a church, which is the parking lot is immediately south of the red circle there. On the west side of Artie Mize, let's see. On the west side of the Artie Mize, various smaller commercial uses. South and east are single-family homes, mostly on large lots, and an elementary school, which is to the right here, just on the edge of the screen. Map shows the subject lot in the center, in the hex in the middle of the drawing there, and the surrounding properties within 185 feet that received notice through the mail. Here we're on the Artie Mize, looking east at the subject property, which contains an older wood frame house. This is from Artie Mize again, looking at the north side of the house with the driveway approach shown. There's just an approach. There's no actual driveway at this point. Here we're looking to the northwest from the church parking lot at the rear and south sides of the house. Across Artie Mize to the west, one of the many small businesses on the west side of the street, this one being a hair salon. To the northwest, again on the west side of Artie Mize, a single-family house and a small office building further to the right. Then immediately north of this site, of the subject rezoning site, is the city park / exercise trail, if you've been by there. And then south of this is the church, which is on the same property right now, being divided into two lots. It's on the same property as the house. And it was rezoned a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, with the idea it would become a banquet hall. And that, to this point, hasn't come to fruition. And this is the property immediately south of the church. It's a vacant lot zoned residential. Staff does recommend approval of this zoning application.
All right. I see that this case is represented by Mr. Gamble with the owner present. Will Mr. Gamble be presenting on behalf of the property owner?
Is that what you'd like, Jason?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Mr. Palmer, under more than one company, has accumulated properties predominantly on the west side for several years, and most of those referenced by the staff report are ones that he has created and or properties that are leased to others that he owns. And then a few years ago, on the east side of R.D. Mize, he bought some acreage, and the church that had been there but then exited to another location with the intent to build an event center, and which has not taken place yet at this time, and probably won't during this pandemic that we're doing at the current time. So those plans are still on the table, and they were zoned in 2017, the church, the parking lot, and the single family home in 17 to commercial usage. But in the intervening time, the event center has not taken place, and there is an opportunity to sell the single family resident to a buyer who would use it for single family residence. And so that would require what was previously a residential zoning and improved to a commercial use. Now we would be doing a down zoning and returning it to the former residential usage. So that is the request before the commission tonight, is to do a down zoning for a house that was built as a residential property, and return it to the same usage. And it's currently being, I think, rented right now. Is that correct, Jason?
No, it's sitting there vacant right now.
It's vacant. Okay. But there's a contract, is my understanding, to a purchaser who wants to return it to single family usage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But we haven't been sworn in or anything. Do you do that here on the internet, or I don't know how you're doing that?
That is an error of the acting chair.
Okay.
We will
Well,
consider
I'll
you
raise my hand
sworn
anytime
in.
you want, but this is the condition as I know it. So the case is simple, and it's, as I've stated, down zoning from a C2 to an R6, and would request that the Planning Commission and the council would honor the request of Mr. Palmer. And I'm here for any questions, and Mr. Palmer is here too to correct me or to answer any questions.
Mr. Gamble, I want to thank you for reminding the acting chair that we failed to swear in yourself and your client and all of those others that are appearing before this commission via this virtual meeting. Therefore, we'll take this opportunity to do that, and we will take that the information that you have presented and on behalf of your client, and the information that he also presented will stand as presented. Therefore, all who are prepared to present and have presented, will the information you have provided or will provide before this commission be true and the whole truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
Yes.
Thank you. Asking the commissioners, you've heard the presentation of staff, you've heard the presentation of Mr. Gamble in concert with Mr. Palmer, or do you have any questions or request any points of clarification? All right. Hearing none, do we have anyone that has been sworn in who would like to offer additional testimony on behalf or other points of clarity in support of this case? Hearing none. Of all those that have been sworn in, do we have anyone who is present and wishing to present information, opposition or requesting additional clarification? Then the public segment of this is closed. Commissioners, do you wish to present any additional information, or do you have any points of clarification that you would like to tender?
I have none.
No, I'm good.
Nothing here.
Hearing none, therefore, the floor is open for a motion.
In that case, I move to approve case 20-100-06, rezoning, address 603 to 611 US 24 Highway, and
No, that's
909.
That's case 20-100-05.
Let me clarify. I move to approve case 20-100-05. Excuse me, rezoning of 2415 South R.D. Mize Road.
I second.
JW,
Hearing the commission's, Commissioner Ware's motion, is Commissioner Wiley's second. We stand corrected. That was case number 20-100-05. We regret the print, Commissioner Ware. Staff, we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Dreer,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Weir,
yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes,
Vice Chairman McLean, do you feel comfortable voting on this case?
yes,
You came in late, okay. And Chairman Ashbaugh, you want to defer on this case? Since you missed part of the presentation,
Sure, I'll defer.
abstain on that one, okay. So,
We have all affirmatives. This case is approved as presented. Go forth, and we wish you good fortunes.
Mr. Chairman.
Staff,
and
I'm going to at
Thank you
this
very-
time defer to Commissioner Ashcroft.
Thank you very much. I'm signing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, Eric.
Billy, you were doing such a, hi, sorry I'm late. Didn't know what to do. But I'm here now. I appreciate Mr. Preston stepping in. You're doing a good job, Billy. You can just keep going if you want.
Yeah, absolutely not. I would never preside when the chair is present and the vice chair is present, so I will defer.
All right, sir. Thanks for your short term of service anyway.
Absolutely.
So we're in the second case on the agenda.
That's correct.
Case number 2.
Okay. So are you ready to get, who's giving the report
I'm
for
here.
that? Okay. Let's go ahead and give the report, please.
Okay, Powell CWM seeks to rezone this property at 603 through 611 East 24 Highway and 909 North Emory from R6, which is the Emory property, and C2, which is the 24 property, to C3. As you can see from the drawing, the site is just south of 24 Highway, which is also sort of East Parker there, and east of Emory Street. This is the zoning for the area. As you can expect, this segment of 24 Highway features mostly C2 zoning. The small oval shows the location of the two adjoining properties. This being the 24 Highway piece and this being the Emory piece. Future land use map proposes neighborhood residential uses for the site and most of the immediate area, with commercial property to the west along the south side of 24 Highway being the only commercial in the shown on the drawing. The aerial photograph here shows the site in the red circle. As you can see, the northern lot, which is the one that is zoned commercial now, it's 603 to 611 East 24 Highway, contains two commercial buildings, while the small lot to the south on the Emory contains just some parked vehicles, which is shown here. Property again to the east is single family residential, even though the house directly to the east is non-commercial. To the west across Emory is the shopping center. This is an auto repair place as well. You've got the school and some vacant property to the north. Okay, this rezoning plat shows the subject site, which is slightly shaded there in the middle, and the surrounding property owners within the 185 feet. Here we're looking south from 24 Highway East Park at the smaller eastern building, and which contains a couple of businesses. As you can see, one's a body shop. So there may be just one business in there right now, but there has been more than one in the past. This is the central parking lot, which sits between the buildings. You've got two flanking this parking lot on either side. Off in the distance there, you can see the gate that goes into the parking and storage on the Emory lot. And then this is the west building. It's slightly larger than the eastern building and contains, right now there's a car detailing and automotive repair, and then there's some woodworker business furniture repair on the northern end. Now this is we're on the North Emory looking east at the front of the southern lot with the fence and the gate shown. That the gate provides access into that lot that you saw in the earlier photograph. Here we're still on Emory looking to the northeast at the fence around the storage area and the back of the western building, excuse me. And off in the distance, you can see 24 Highway there. And this is Emory coming down the hill. Okay, this is the eastern side of the vehicle storage lot, which is the one on Emory. The fence line up to in the middle of the screen is with the gate there is the access, one of the means of access into this lot, with the other access point being into the parking lot for the two buildings. This is on the east side of this storage lot. Again, vehicles waiting for repair. Okay, here we're looking to the northwest at a closed restaurant. And then off in the distance slightly, you can see the high school with the football field and the light on the field. This is an undeveloped property immediately north of the site, across Parker and then across 24 Highway. And to the northeast, there's a parking lot for a dental office, and then off to the distance, slightly to the left of the dental office there, which is that yellow building, is another vehicle repair shop. Here we're also looking east up Parker. Okay, this is a single family home that's just east of the site. This property is also zoned C2. This is the vacant property that's just south of the 909 North Emory. You can see it's an undeveloped, overgrown property. That's owned single family. Okay, on the west side of Emory, on the west side of Emory, this is the rear of an auto repair business across the street from the subject site. Okay, we lost connection here. Hang on. Okay. And this is the front of that auto repair business as it faces 24 highway. Staff recommends approval of this application.
Thanks, Stuart. The commissioners have any questions of Stuart before we hear from the person who's proposing this? Okay.
What's
All
the
right.
exact purpose of it?
Go ahead, say that again, please.
What's the exact purpose of the zoning?
Right
Make
now,
it
well, right now there's a business or two in there that would not normally be allowed in C2, but they've been there for several years, so they're more or less non-conforming uses. However, if the property owner in the future seeks to rent out spaces to other uses that may require C3 zoning, that's the idea, is to zone the property into a zoning districts that allows for the multiple types of auto repair uses that C2 wouldn't allow, such as auto body work, painting, engine overhauls, heavier duty work than C2 would allow.
So we're
Stuart,
going
was this
to make
initiated?
it uniformly. We're going to make it all the property C3.
That's right, and that includes the residential property that's at 909 North Emory, which has been used for auto repair storage lot for a number of years without the correct zoning.
Stuart?
Thank you.
Stuart, was this the city initiated or was this the owner initiated?
No, the applicant, this was not city initiated.
Okay.
The property owner initiated this application.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioner members before we bring the applicant forward or online? Okay. Would the applicant care to add anything or speak to this matter?
Sure, I can add just some information, maybe some history.
Could you identify yourself, please?
I'm Toby Williams with PAL CWM, civil engineer.
And can we have your address for the record, please?
Yeah, it's personal address, right?
Yes, sir.
14098 South Greenwood Street, Olathe, Kansas, 66062.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. So a little history of the project to add some little backstory. It's been a family-owned business since the 70s, I think 74 to be precise. The original owners were the parents of our client, Mr. and Mrs. Gervey, who inherited the property, I think recently, and have continued to operate the business as it's been operated for several years. And I believe the unified ordinance changed, segregated the R2 and R3 in 2009, which then put them in a situation where they're operating a business that did not meet the zoning. There's been businesses operating under R3 there for years, as planning staff had mentioned. And I believe at this point, they're just wanting to bring it up to current zoning for future clients. I believe there's been some attempts to get some new clients at the property under current operations that they're now performing, and those clients, and they were led to believe that they needed the R3 zoning. C3, sorry. and then we prompted the application and submittal for that.
Okay. So I don't know that there's a lot of discussion necessary, but is that all you'd like to add?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. There may be a question come your way. We'll see.
Okay.
Since since it's an open meeting, I have to ask, is anyone else here to speak in favor of this case? Is there anyone here who is opposed or who has questions on this case? Okay. Hearing no one trying to say anything, we'll declare the public hearing portion of this case closed and would ask the commissioners to offer any questions, comments, or motions.
Well, one question for Mr. Williams. I think what you've presented is there are no proposed or intended uses that are not already being exercised, albeit non-conforming. Am I correct?
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners have questions? Comments? Motion?
I
Mr.
have a
Chair,
question.
Oh.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
I defer.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I move to approve case 20-100-06, rezoning of 603 East US 24 Highway and 909 North Emery Street.
Okay, do I have a second?
Yeah, I second.
Second. I defer.
Okay, so Joe, did you second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. Unless there's any objection, we're ready to take the vote on this case.
Commissioner Trier,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Weir,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes?
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
and Chairman Ashbaugh.
Yes. Case number 20-100-06, rezoning of 603 through 611 East to US 24 Highway and 909 North Emery Street has been approved and is scheduled for the first reading by City Council on July 6th. Good luck to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, planning staff and commissioners.
You're welcome. Okay, our next case is case number 20-400-06, short-term rental at 636 South Fuller Avenue.
Yeah, it just dawned on me that being from this remote location, I can't move the slides. You will do
Brian, don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Fuller Beds Inc. Intends to operate a short-term rental from a recently renovated home at 636 North Fuller Avenue. First, we'll go through the zonings here. Surrounding zonings to the north of this property is C1 neighborhood commercial. We have this along this street is R12 two-family residential, and to the west across the alley behind this property R6 single-family residential. So as far as the surrounding uses go, if we look at the aerial photograph, here, what we have is a funeral home on that and an associated residential structure on that property to the north on that property that's zoned C1. We have a single family neighborhood to the west with the single family homes there, including an existing or a recently approved short-term loan actually on the next street behind, or short-term rental on the next street behind. The street on which this property is located is zoned R12. Most of the homes along this are single family, although it allows for duplexes in this area. So the first of the three questions that we look at here when we examine these, how does the owner plan to limit the number of guests for each stay? Well, the applicant's letter indicated that the 1,200 square foot short-term rental unit, which will be one half of this 3,600 square foot duplex, has 3 bedrooms, 2 of them with double wide beds and 1 with a queen size bed, and a large living area and a dining area, a full bathroom and full kitchen, and each room will have a private closet and locking door. One of the rooms has an additional day bed, and there are also some separate mattresses as well as a sofa that can be used for sleeping. The applicant said it could easily accommodate up to 10 guests. However, our code limits the number of adults to 8. Booking agents will inform prospective guests of the occupancy limit. The second question that we look at is, get this to move. How will the owner handle parking if more than 1 vehicle arrives per bedroom? Again, the booking website will provide information on the number of parking spaces available. Provisions for off-street parking will include at least 3 parking spaces on site and 2 on-street parking spaces as allowed by the UDO. Now, portions of the existing driveway leading to the on-site spaces that's accessed off of a private alley behind the property, that those access and parking spots would have to be paved, or that those driveway portions anyway, and that parking and those parking spots would have to be paved. Additional vehicles on the street beyond the 1 per bedroom of course, could be ticketed by the police. The third item, the question that we look at on these rental units is how the owner plans to address loud and unruly guests or complaints from neighbors. Detailed information on the booking website will indicate that the guests may not host event parties or large gatherings. The applicant states that they're going to live in the other unit. So the rental unit is 1/2 of the duplex. If unable to resolve the issue with their guests, of course, they can, they're going to be next door, but they can always call the police as a last resort. The site has been inspected and approved by the city's fire department and the building's inspection division of community development. So again, this is the overhead view of the site. So you see that there's a private alleyway that actually, and this picture doesn't do it justice very well because if it keeps going, actually the tree sort of shades over it. Off that paved parking lot off the back of the funeral home, and then there's an existing gravel area, and that at least the portions that they park the vehicles would need to be paved. I guess we'll go through the pictures real quickly. In the vicinity of the neighborhood. Okay, well, first we'll look at the floor plan. So this is the first floor, the first floor plan. So you can see the living room and then the bedrooms there. And then the next slide is the second floor. There you go, up the steps there. Okay, this is looking at the unit, the building directly. So this building has a shared front door, but then there are, once you walk into the foyer, there's separate doors for the different units. So it is a duplex. It isn't rooms within a single family home. It is a duplex. This is looking to the south, to the left, if you're standing in front of the building, on Fuller, and this is south down toward the elementary school. And then this is southeast. I'm sorry, that was my son. So we're looking directly across the street to the east. And then this looking up to the northeast, up Fuller, and then to the northwest where the funeral home property is. Okay, real quickly, I can get this scrolled correctly. Staff recommends approval of the short-term rental with the following conditions. The short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with Article 3 and Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. The business must comply with all standards established by Section 14.420 of the city code. The short-term rental shall provide the safety requirements outlined in Section 14.420. And the applicant would need to pave portions of the existing driveway leading to on-site parking spaces. And that concludes my presentation.
Brian, could you make it a little more clear? The picture that we're looking at, which I guess you can see, is that the entire driveway that you're calling the driveway that needs to be paved, or could you say leading up to? So it's,
well, if they have theoretically, I suppose if they had their customers park their cars at the end of the driveway, they wouldn't have to do the whole drive. But the part they use, they'd have to pay.
so you want the customer to actually be able to pull, when they pull into the property, they have.
Now the alleyway itself does have a gravel segment, but that's not on their property. But what's on the property should be paid.
Okay, so this picture we're looking at, someone standing in the alleyway looking at the back of the house.
Right. If we go to the next picture, actually, after this one, I think it's actually from the alleyway. Oh, that's looking out the alleyway. And then if you turn the next picture there, shows,
Gotcha. Okay.
You see that alleyway keeps going straight, and the driveway is just behind that tree and that shrub going off to the left.
Okay, that's more clear. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do the commissioners have questions of Brian before we call the applicant forward? No? Okay, is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to add anything to what we listened to?
Yes, what my question would be is, are you saying that I need to pave the portion of the alleyway that is
No.
now gravel?
No. I said.
We are
'cause that's not-
literally 6 feet off of the paved parking lot
Right.
of Carson Speaks Funeral Home.
Right. What I was saying is that that's not your property to worry about. But what is your property you need to pave, where the vehicles will either will go whatever distance they go to get to the spots where they park.
We just had the parking area extended and had crusher run put in, which is compacted material. Will that count?
No, you actually, if there was a grandfather gravel driveway there, it actually shouldn't have been expanded.
Well,
and
we didn't expand it. We just made certain that it was a solid surface.
Okay, yeah. Well, you just maintained the existing grandfather gravel lot. However, with the change in use to the short-term rental, one of the expectations we've had for other short-term rentals is that the parking should be upgraded to a paved surface when you do a short-term rental.
All right. And do we have an allotment for street parking as the other people do? Can we utilize that for guests?
Yes, you have at least enough for 2 spaces.
All right, so we can utilize
I don't know.
and we could.
I don't know. Right, you could you can utilize at least 2 spaces on the street.
All right, so we could use the gravel parking for our own private parking and have guests park on the street.
You have
Yes.
to pay. Mhm. Did you say
That's an
something?
exorbitant cost, considering the amount of money that I've invested in this so far, just to begin.
Brian,
Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion, please.
Yeah.
First of all, ma'am, I apologize. I did not ask you to state your name and address for the record. If you could do that now, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, surely. My name is Joy Eastman, and my address is 636 South Fuller Avenue, Independence, Missouri, 64052.
Okay. My suggestion is that perhaps this be postponed, because it sounds like you and the applicant and the city needs to get together and figure out what you're going to require of her to do.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that
This is the first that I've heard of it. This is the very first that I've heard of it.
I understand, ma'am. I think that that's probably better that you get with the city instead of trying to do it at this meeting, especially this online meeting, because it's kind of confusing. I think it would be better
All right.
if we do that. Or is the city?
Is there may I ask, does the city provide are there provisions of services held by is there a specific division that I'm required to go through, or?
You need to talk to community development, which Brian here is Harper. Brian Harper is a member of, and
Right. Okay, Brian, may I state that there's nowhere in the provisions that it says anything about there's been no notification whatsoever of this.
that's why I'm suggesting that we postpone this.
All right. Well,
So,
I just
well,
wanted on the
we-
record that this is completely unprofessional and an exorbitant cost to land on someone at the time of their license that they paid for and invested
That'll be made
years
part
worth of their time.
Sure, that'll be made part of the record. I would suggest that Brian, or
Yes.
that you guys get together somehow. I don't know if you want to exchange information or phone numbers or whatever. Which do you have each other's phone
Brian,
number?
how should I get in touch with you to settle this? I'm very unhappy and very unpleased with this approach.
I will give you a call tomorrow morning.
All right.
Okay, so that's that. I need a motion to postpone this till when, Brian?
May I add one further thing? I have, on the city council's advice, I have already began leasing and doing the short-term rental, and I've already paid. I'm having taxes withheld and paying taxes as a business and a profitable asset to the community at this point. Is there any particular reason why I should stop at this point and utilizing the two front parking places?
No, ma'am, you can
go ahead.
I mean, I'm one of less than 20 people in the entire city that is trying to legitimately do this.
No, we appreciate that. I would just continue to do what you're doing, okay? Because you're already been doing it, and we're just trying to get everything sorted out. So, but this has to be worked out with the city, before we can take a ruling on it, okay? And I apologize that this happened, but that's what's happened. And I would just like to say on behalf of the commission, I think I'm not speaking out of line, that this is kind of the second or third time that this has come up. So we need to make sure these folks know what your expectations are before we get to this point. If that's possible to do, I think all of us would appreciate that. Okay, so I need a motion to postpone this.
Mr. Chair,
When, Brian?
I move that we postpone this until the next meeting on the 23rd.
Okay,
That's right.
let's do that, and then if
I think we can get that taken care of in the meantime.
Until it is. Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Preston. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Let's just, all in favor, say aye for postponing.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
it's unanimous. We're postponing this till next commission meeting. Okay. Next item of business is the approval of minutes. Is there any changes to be made, or speak now?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, hearing no improvements, no corrections or anything, not improvements, corrections. We'll just say the minutes stand as written. Any items the commissioners want to bring up to the city at this time?
Yes, Brian,
Yes.
when we have these paving issues, and who does the enforcement of going out and checking that they're done, or does anybody do that?
You're talking about.
Well,
we haven't. Well, we haven't.
We've probably had 4 of these paving issues, I think, since I've been on, and I've noticed that they're not being done.
Well, these cases, I think, have only been, approved in the last couple of months. I don't know that have, or the last 3 or 4 months that have to do with short-term rentals. The ones that we've had requirements for doing that,
Well,
I'm
say
not sure.
time goes by.
I don't know. I don't know whether we've had the inspections yet for those. I'll
Brian,
have to look into that.
it seems to me that the ones that we have had, we have told them it has to be done by a certain time in the future.
Yeah,
Because they've got to get a contractor and blah, yada, yada. So,
yeah, we gave them time. That's right. So yeah, I don't think so. We haven't really inspected
Right,
to see
so-
what they've done yet.
so if they don't do it, when they come up for, renewal, then they're denied until they actually install what we've told them to install, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
This paving thing isn't new, though. It's in the ordinance, right? I mean, we all went over the ordinance in the fall. We all remember that as being part of the ordinance. So I guess I don't understand the confusion. To me, the paving is different than how many parking spaces, right? If you have to
Right.
pave an area, you have to pave an area, no matter what street parking is like. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the difference here is that they're requesting basically a change of use to have a commercial business there. And gravel driveways are not legal in the city of Independence. So,
Right.
Yes, they can get some credit for on-street parking, but especially in a situation like this where they're requesting approval for up to 10 guests, we have to plan for the worst case scenario that there are 5 vehicles that need a place to park. And if they've got 2 on-street parking,
Right.
where are they parked that's not gravel? So while it may not necessarily be in the short-term rental ordinance, it's in the Unified Development Ordinance.
But isn't it part of the short-term rental ordinance?
I'm trying to remember. I know that it talks specifically about the credit you get for street parking. Oh, it does. It says that you have to provide parking for, I believe, like every two guests or something. So I don't know that it specifically says paved parking, but it does say parking. And so maybe it's something we can clarify in the future. But I mean, I tend to agree with you.
That was my point, is that she's saying the first I've heard of it. So
Yeah,
we
and
don't know whether she just didn't read everything you sent her, or I don't know. So you tell me what you're doing.
Sorry, but that's on us as staff. We need to do a better job of getting that information to them and point it out sooner so that they are aware and they have a chance to see that and decide if they want to go forward.
I mean, we just had one case that withdrew that didn't actually come forward because I informed them that they would have to pave their driveway, and they decided to go ahead and do it as a long-term rental rather than a short-term rental, so they wouldn't have to. So,
What about the last one?
we've been explaining this to people. So,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So maybe, since it seems to be a communication error, because I'm with Heather, I mean, I remember these things, but maybe it's because we've experienced it a couple times and seen it in writing, and they have not. And in general, just using myself as an example, I need to hear it and see it. So maybe even though you're verbalizing it, if we can just make sure it's written somewhere in the information they get, because it is a big stumbling block. Paving is expensive, and so that would give them a chance to decide before they came before us.
Yeah. I also think it would help me if I could reread the ordinance, especially before meetings where we have a short-term rental. I need to brush up on it myself.
I do have the language here. It's 14-420-03. Off-street parking shall be provided in accordance with section 14-501-05, and a credit of 1 space for every 18 feet of lot frontage may be applied to the off-street parking requirement.
Right.
Then when you refer to a different section, that's where you get to the requirements of off-street parking.
okay, so in her case,
Can we
since she
put that
got
in
a
layman?
huge gravel area, could she basically just pave the parking spots closest to the alley and then let them walk through the gravel to the house?
I think that
I
would
mean, that was, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Was that a yes?
Yeah, and so that's something that when we reach out to the applicant tomorrow, we can, try to come to a reasonable, solution like that if she's willing to do that. And if not, if she just wants to strictly use those 2 parking spots on the street, that's fine too. We just on our end will need to restrict the number of guests that she's going to potentially rent to.
Right.
That's the other end that we have. Like,
Right. And so not that I'm super concerned about it, but there was a little innuendo in there that, well, I'll just withdraw and then go ahead and operate because I can't afford to comply. So I'm just putting that out there because I don't know that it's a huge deal unless something bad happens, but
when that would end up being a business license violation if she doesn't have a business license. And generally we operate on as a complaint basis. So if we have a complaint, we go out and investigate and write tickets if appropriate. So it behooves all of us to come to a solution that works for everybody.
So my point, I guess, is, if some people hear that and they decide to take that, and we're talking about communication, they decide to take that chance. Well, hey, I'm not going to, comply. I'm just going to fly under the radar. That there probably ought to be some other language. If we catch you violating this ordinance, there's going to be a problem. So, sometimes people, the threat of having something even worse happening to them than having to pay for paving might make them think about what they're doing. So we need to be transparent and clear on what I would think what the city's expectations are. If they comply or they don't comply, they get caught.
Yeah.
All right.
And we include an amount of time, right, that they have to get that done in? Do we include an amount of time?
So far, I don't think we've put a very stringent timeline on it, as long as they make a good faith effort to do it, as you guys said, by the time that their renewal is up a year from now. Just because we know they need to get a contractor and, COVID and all of that kind of good stuff, weather related. So because these short-term rentals are a new process, what we're working on is that being part of the business license approval process. That it would have to either, there'd have to be a plan in place to get that done in a specified time period moving forward. That workflow just isn't up and running yet. So right now we're just, we will follow up with property owners and applicants, as we can and see that these are done before the 1 year renewal of their business license. So.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? My question, hopefully my last question tonight is are we going to meet online or are we going to meet in the chambers next time?
We are meeting online at least through the end of July.
Okay. I don't know why Cindy and I didn't get a code. I'm wondering if Virginia got one or not, but
I think Virginia did. We were aware she wasn't going to be here tonight. So we will go back and make sure we have correct email addresses. And you should get something either way if we have a meeting or not. So if you don't get something, let us know. Be pinging us.
I get stuff from Miranda. I just didn't get anything.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
No, that's understandable.
It's when I send the packet. I sent it last Wednesday. So I forwarded it both to Cindy and Eric for you guys to see if your emails are correct. But it should be the same group that I sent last time.
And I think for me, whenever, go ahead, Eric.
No, I got the email you just sent me, Miranda. But I didn't get the go to meeting one.
Well, below my email just now, it shows the one I sent last Wednesday, and it has the code in it with the packet.
I think what I did is I just didn't see that part. I think I saw the code for the packet and didn't look below. I really think I was just my human error.
Yeah, it's below the packet. Sorry.
No,
That's
it's,
easy to
I
do.
think it's my fault.
Well, you can take the blame. Okay. Well, anyway, that's fine. I just wondered what we're going to do next time.
Yeah. So until the end of July, so the next 3 meetings that are on the schedule, we'll plan to do electronically. And then after that, we will kind of reassess. That's our whatever phase 2 opening where we might have in-person meetings again. So.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting is when?
That's a good question.
June 23rd.
June 23rd.
23rd. All right. Okay.
Till then.
All right.
Yes, I guess we will stand adjourned at 7:07 p.m. Have a good summer, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
It's not over yet.
It just started.
That's right.